Hello everyone, it's me John again. Welcome to another edition of JohnnyVlogs. This is the first time we're officially on Tuesday, so I hope you had a great Monday and we will continue your week here. This is the episode where, of course, we're going to debut the title for the new show starting this week. Actually, it should be starting tomorrow, Wednesday. And also speaking a bit about how you can help me continue to grow BrainScratch and become a vital part of it, and quite possibly help me develop a way so that I can crank out even more episodes per week. What I'm kind of hoping there is if that system takes off, now that I'm separating missing persons from the main BrainScratch show, I might also do another spin-off focusing on the mysterious murders. And then that way BrainScratch can kind of get back to pushing the edge in terms of fringe theories and different stuff like that. There's this whole other bucket of information that I see the main BrainScratch show being able to cover, and these split off shows kind of taken care of between the missing show and the murder show. But let's get rolling. So first of all, I want to thank you all so much. You really contributed to that last JohnnyVlogs. I got a bunch of great ideas, so many good titles that I didn't just want to throw them all away. I thought that at least I should mention them here so we could all kind of share them together. And just for everyone that contributed to that conversation, thank you, thank you, thank you. It was very... it just made me feel so good that you guys are so interested in seeing the channel grow. I really appreciate that. So these are not in any particular order, but other titles that are being considered were Mist, and that's spelled just like the traditional word mist, but also someone thought it might be cool to kind of twist the spelling, like M-Y-S-T or something like that. Missing Link, Vanished, which quite honestly was a top contender for me until I did some searching on it, and apparently there is a dramatic television show also called Vanished. So Gone, pretty cool title. I just like how simple and clean it is. Find Me Files, Out of Sight. This next one, really a top contender, but there was just so many good ideas. I had to thin it out somehow, and this one was Thin Air, and I really like that one. It just makes you think of basically of the word disappearance, disappearing into thin air. It was really, really cool. MPU, or the Missing Persons Unit, which I like the idea of. However, if it's BrainScratch MPU, that can get a bit wordy in the title block that I type all this into in YouTube, which I'm going to talk about also. Grid Search, which I really like the word search. There's something very active about that I really like. And Grid Search I kind of like because it has a double meaning. Typically when they are looking for people, if they've been lost in a large area of the woods or something like that, they will break it down to a grid search where basically there's these blocks carved out that certain people are responsible for searching. And then there's also this kind of double meaning in terms of the grid, which is an old term for the internet. It's really not used too much anymore, but I just kind of liked that it had that double meaning aspect. Brain Rack. I really liked it because it stayed in the theme of brain scratch, blah, blah, blah. And maybe that could be used for a different spin-off show at some point. Just kind of cool. And finally, Itchy Mysteries, which I really, really like. Didn't quite hit the missing person vein enough for me. As a matter of fact, maybe when I spin off the murder shows into their own thing, maybe my old school BrainScratch I will rename to Itchy Mysteries. Maybe the murder show will take the name BrainScratch. I don't know. I really, really like that one, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to use that in some way. Can't you see like t-shirts that say BrainScratch Itchy Mysteries on it or something? It's just very, very clever. So thank you to everyone that kicked in on those suggestions. We are now going to get to my top 3, and these are in the order that they landed. So the last one is going to be the one that I've selected. At third place, Come Home. There's just something very simple about it. It evokes the family, which is a big focus of that show for me, especially after what happened with the Brandon Lawson case, where I've spoken to a bunch of his family now, and I'm becoming more sensitive as to what's important to them as survivors of these situations. In second place, search party. There's that word again. There's something about the term search I really like. Search party is great. It's a familiar term that's used in cases where they bring a bunch of people together and they go searching, of course. But finally, in first place, and it was hard to refute this because there was so much support for it in the actual comment thread, Searchlight. And I do believe we're going to keep it themed as BrainScratch Searchlight. So now in terms of how the title will show up in the actual YouTube text box for the title, I think the most important information for these episodes are the person's name. So the beginning of the title will actually be their name, and it'll be like John Doe on BrainScratch Searchlight. So that way we get the most important info out. We still get the full branding for BrainScratch, which a lot of you were very adamant about also. You thought it was really important that this stayed in the BrainScratch family. I totally agree with you. And I personally like the term Searchlight. I did some searching on it. I used to work at 20th Century Fox. They had a film division called Searchlight. I think they still do. Not quite as popular as it was in the 90s. And if you go searching on the term Searchlight in terms of YouTube or Google, you'll get a little bit around the Fox stuff, but there's not a whole lot of clutter there. Where, for example, when you go searching for the term vanished, you get a lot of hits back because of the television drama. And the television drama is related to someone going missing, so I didn't want any potential crossover, or basically I wanted it so that when people search this term, they're able to find the content very easily. And if you know the name of the missing person and you know the name is called Searchlight, or you think that the show is called BrainScratch, as long as you search on either one of those terms, it's going to return the episode. So I think that's going to work like I'm intending it to. So once again, thank you all for contributing to this. It was really awesome. You gave me a bit of work to do in terms of weeding through all these great titles that you submitted, and there are so many great titles, but ultimately I had to go with one, and Searchlight just seems to make the most sense, because that's essentially what this show is going to be. We're trying to shine a searchlight on cases that might be forgotten, bring them back into the public's attention, and even in terms of for the family, this show will hopefully be a tool, kind of like a searchlight, for them to find their loved ones. Also, just to touch a bit more on the Brandon Lawson case, I was contacted by an organization that manages one of his missing websites. They were asking me for permission to repost the, or to embed the BrainScratch that I did about Brandon Lawson there. Apparently his family asked them to do that, so there's just been a lot of support, and it's making me realize what a great tool this can be. If I can kind of do the same thing we did for Brandon, get these stories that aren't really big, highly publicized stories, pull together all the little tidbits of information that are out there on these separate websites and give it in one big, concise package. So I really think Searchlight is the best way to go. So that being said, how can you help BrainScratch, all the variations of the show, continue to grow? The biggest thing that I've noticed, I'm coming up on a year of BrainScratch. We're about just a little under a month shy of a full year of BrainScratch. And the thing that takes the most time is essentially, there's two components to it. It's the research, and then me being comfortable with the research. And what that means is, I'll do the research where I initially search for a bunch of information. I'll kind of start developing this overall theory in my head about what that information's trying to tell me. But then me being comfortable with the research is me doing a bunch of checks against my new assumptions, where basically I'll search on things kind of in a reverse fashion. I just test the theories, basically. It's a step in research that is usually done on a bigger television production. They would call it like a fact checker. So there's two components to the research. Grab it all up, find all this information, then kind of check the facts that you are taking out of all that information. So what's been happening actually over the past few weeks is I've had some people give me information, just like that episode I did last week on Kathy O'Brien and the MK Ultra thing. They gave me so much information that the initial big gathering of that info was done by someone else. So at that point, what I'm able to do is kind of pick it up midstream, read all of their research, synthesize my overall story or theory about how I'm going to retell it to you, and then do my fact checking, which is much less time. Essentially, that last week's episode I was able to do with only about 4 hours worth of additional work on top of what the person had sent me, which is pretty phenomenal for a brain scratch. Usually they take me between 8 and 16 hours overall to do that whole process. So outside of that, I've had someone else that has contacted me recently, and I just want to give her a quick shout out real quick because she's very passionate about this story. She's known as Crazy Cat Lady in the actual YouTube threads. If you see down below Brain Scratch, you might see her comment. And she's got a story she's very passionate about, and I essentially wrote her an email about how to send me the information that I needed to be able to turn that into an episode of Brain Scratch. And what's tough there is most of the information that she's getting is written in a different language that she's translating for me, which is another way that people help, and we kind of had that happen with the Lars Matunk case as well. So once I wrote that email to her, I kind of figured out, oh my goodness, I can take this and kind of synthesize this to an email that's written to anyone that wants to contribute to a Brain Scratch. So that's essentially what I did, and I'm just going to read you the email now, and if you do send me an email to do a topic, you're probably going to get some form of this email back at you, but for those of you that are interested, here it is. Thanks for your interest in helping on an episode of Brain Scratch. Most Brain Scratchers know that this show was created with collaboration in mind and in presenting info to our audience so they can continue developing theories and doing additional research for these cases in the comment section of each video. Now, I'm looking to select some people to step up from Brain Scratch Viewer to official BrainScratch Topic Researcher. If this system takes off, I'm hoping we can create even more episodes every week and keep raising awareness to these tough issues. Researchers will receive credit on the episodes they contribute to, both a spoken shout-out and a text credit at the end of the episode, with social media contact info if desired. Have access to me, will be considered for appearances if interested, possibly on that show or on the Brain Scratch podcast series I'm looking to start later this year. And of course, a great feeling about helping other people by producing content that empathizes and educates people to some of the toughest and most interesting topics that we all face together as human beings. As of right now, there is no official pay for this job, but as the channel grows, I'm hopeful that will change. We're a startup, and I need people that want to grow and learn with me. The framework of Brain Scratch is relatively simple. The outline below is specific to covering a murder story, but could also be used for a missing persons episode. Step 1. I need a timeline of the known events, the day of the murder/disappearance. Step 2. Potential suspects or people of interest in the original investigation. Pictures would be appreciated, but not totally necessary. Step 3. Stories or theories on the motive. For example, why exactly did X kill Y, and who these theories came from. Step 4. Any noted discrepancies to the, quote, official story. Include any experts that may support or counter the official story here. And Step 5. Fringe theories. Essentially any quotes or thoughts on what may have happened. This is where we can cover gossip, ideas that don't necessarily line up with the official story, opinions from non-experts, etc. Some Brain Scratch episodes are more topical in nature, like the coverage I did on the Solway Firth Spaceman or Denver International Airport, but the structure is still similar. Step 1. What is the official belief? Step 2. Why should that belief be questioned? Any motives for the belief to be untrue? Step 3. Input from experts. Trying to find a few quotes from experts on both sides of the belief. Step 4. Fringe theories. Essentially any quotes or thoughts on the actual truth of the belief or a new belief. This is where we can cover gossip, ideas that don't necessarily line up with the official story, opinion from non-experts, etc. Typically, I use between 6 and 10 different web sources for one episode of Brain Scratch. I anticipate you could do the preliminary research in approximately 3 to 6 hours, depending on the topic. To submit it to me, I just need the link sent with a brief explanation of what each link is, and we would talk probably on Skype about your discoveries and feelings about the case for about an hour. All right, so that is kind of the form email right now. And I'm going to open up, I already have the Gmail account for Geek and Dorks. It's just like it's spelled in YouTube, geekandorks@gmail.com. So if you are interested in submitting stories to me, go ahead and shoot them there. You can use the format that I just described, either of the formats that I just described. If you don't know the format, or if you want more particular information about how you could cover a story, just shoot me any questions to geekanddorks@gmail.com. I'm looking forward to seeing your stories and the research that you can kind of find, and hopefully I can pick up the ball with and run it to the finish line for an episode of BrainScratch. And then we'll get credit for it together, which I think is really cool. If you have any input in terms of that process, please drop it in the comment box below. Also, whatever you think about the new title. I don't think it's going to change, but I'm of course still of an open mind. It's early on in that show's format. I'm really looking forward to getting your feedback on the format of the show once the first episode kicks out. So I'll be sure to ask for that in the episode, which you can check out tomorrow. I hope you're all having a great week. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. We are now over 6,000 viewers strong, which is amazing. And it just seems like cool things are happening constantly around this show. And you guys are a huge part of that. I really can't do it without you. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you each and every one of you very, very much. And I hope you will have a great week. Take care.